absolutely do nothing.
Recording in progress.
Good afternoon. It is 3:04 p.m. on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. I'd like to call the Richland County Community Impact Grants Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you take the roll, please?
Pugh,
Here.
Livingston,
Here.
Barron,
Here.
Mackey,
Here.
English. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is approval of minutes for March 18th, 2025.
So move, Madam Chair.
The motion, is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English. Motion approved.
Thank you. Next is the adoption of the agenda. Administrator Brown, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I've received no requested changes.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
motion approved.
All right. So we are at item 4, items for discussion / action. 4A is review of allocations. As a reminder, when the Community Impact Grants Committee was established, we agreed to set aside $1 million each year for funding for community impact grants. This year, as many folks know, we are in a year where there are a lot of budget constraints. We will begin budget discussions starting in next month, actually, and we'll look at how we move forward, being able to deliver services to residents within Richland County. As we all know, there have been many cuts from the federal level that impact operations here at Richland County and many of our departments. And then even today over at the State House, the Senate is discussing the budget there, where we also anticipate there will be cuts from earmarks as well as other fundings that will have a trickle-down impact on county government and how we operate. And so I think it is our responsibility as we plan for how we lead county government to be mindful of that and to plan accordingly. And I wanted this committee to think about that as we begin to look at allocations of funds for nonprofits that have requested money. I'd like to make a motion to set aside 10% of our current community impact grant allocations to fund a child welfare issues that the county needs to address.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
You recognize Councilwoman Barron.
Thank you. While I recognize that we're in some really difficult times as it relates to nonprofits and even local governments and even businesses, I do, and also I'll say I recognize that there are some issues as it relates to child welfare that the county has to address. I do believe that this is somewhat of a double-edged sword, because while we are addressing one area, we are also leaving another area still needing those same resources as you described earlier. And I do believe that, the county is not necessarily the piggy bank for all people and all organizations. But as this motion is before us now, I would like for us to have further discussion about what this actually looks like. And to even, maybe we can even go on the record now to talk numbers, what that will look like from a financial standpoint of if we, set aside 10%, what does that mean? Is that 10% of the total amount? Is that 10% of, community partners? And then wherever we're taking those funds from, what's the balance? And then how did we derive to or come to the 10%? I believe that we've got a lot of things that we need to address and to continue to aid and assure the citizens of Richland County. But I do think that I'm a little concerned about having to make this decision from a committee standpoint so quickly on the spot. So I do have a couple of questions that I'd like to, just for the record, if we could have those addressed by administration, or maybe even, Madam Chair, you can address that one portion. Where are we taking that 10% from the overall amount, and then from there, if administration can give us some numbers as to what this looks like, should we decide to move forward with this?
Thank you, Ms. Barron. My motion was for a set aside of 10% from the Community Impact Grant Fund. So that would be the total fund, was my motion. If there's a member of the audience has a calculator, I'd appreciate the math for me. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may be recognized.
You recognize ACA Thomas.
The total amount of community impact grants that were allocated for this year were $1.764 million. It's $1,764,000. To set aside 10% of that would be to set aside $176,400. If you were to do it unilaterally, 10% to each side, the impact for the community partners would be the same if you were to take it only for the community partners, because they do receive 60% currently. So if you were to do it unilaterally, removing 10% from each of the community impact grant and also from the competitive grants, the community impact grants would then be reduced to $952,560, and the competitives would be reduced to $635,040. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you set aside 10% from both sides, you would leave $952,560 for community impact grants. For community partners, sorry. For competitive grants, that would leave $635,040. If you were to choose to reduce the community partners by 10%, which is currently funded at 60%, it would leave $952,560. So either way, it leaves community partners in the same position.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, if I may.
Yeah, just anybody else have questions about the numbers before we move on? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
And so I think that, when we look at taking the 10%, one would say that it makes more sense to take it from the community partners versus the overall number. And so did I hear you correctly to say that if we take it from the overall amount, then the impact to the community partners still remains the same?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. If you take the 10% off of the community partners, the amount for community partners would then be reduced to $952,560, and the competitive grants would remain at $705,600.
Thank you. That's all I have for right now.
Thank you. Give me just 1 minute, please. Also wanted to just address one other comment that Ms. Barron made about kind of right now. And we're in the process of making decisions about the community impact grants. And so any motions that we make today about funding, it then goes on to the full body. And so making the motion today is really to get ahead of it so that we're not funding organizations. And then when we get later on, we're saying, oh, well, we need to not award because of a budget issue. And so that is really why it's here today, to kind of stop us from awarding things that then we might have to later take away from people. I would rather not award in the beginning to lessen confusion. Mr. Pugh, you recognize.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Making a motion for the 10%, I think it's a great idea because one, we don't currently know what's going to happen downtown at the State House, and they're in the middle of their budget process. And so I like the fact that we're being proactive instead of reactive, because it's some community partners that if they don't receive the funding that they need from the State House, which we know is going to be slim to none, then the next persons that they're going to be looking at is going to be looking at Richland County. So we're creating a space for us to be able to support those folks just in case they need the support. I guess my question is, if in hindsight, if everything works out like it needs to and we don't have to use that 10% to support anything, where do we go from there?
So I think that could be a discussion, is where you're at. My intent, I guess, would be that then this committee could still come back and award if needed. If the committee does not want to award, then the money could go back into the general fund. So, Mr. Livingston, you're right.
You just answered my question. I was going to suggest that we make sure that the funds remain with the committee, and then the committee will decide what to do in terms of recommendation to council.
Councilwoman Newton, you recognize.
Thank you. I'll yield to any members of the committee first. I think Councilwoman English wanted to say something.
I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
Councilwoman English.
Thank you. One of the things I wanted to address is to just kind of to agree with Derek and to share with you all. One of the things that we just had to do with our federal grants is exactly what you're talking about. We had to vote on them, but then we also have to send a statement out that says we may have to rescind these funds at any time. And that's not a good look or a good feel, because we know the importance of these funds. So thank you for this. This is a foresight, and I really wanted to say thank you for it.
Councilwoman Newton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so to extend that theme, I don't serve on the committee, but this would go to the full body, so just wanted to address it now. I do think that this is a proactive measure that I think makes a lot of sense, and I am probably in the minority on the body in that I personally would love to see the reserve increased above and beyond the 10%, because that's the type of two things. Number one, uncertainty that we're seeing on the federal level. I'm working with some nonprofits right now who are concerned about how they're going to continue to exist because of things that are happening in funding. And I think that there's a lot of funding that is currently coming to the county where we don't know if that's going to continue to exist. The flip side of that is that there are things by statute and things by ordinance that we are required to pay, and we know that those will continue to exist. And there's little regard for how things work in the county as it relates to addressing those expenses. And I think that, quite frankly, I won't say we're in a tight spot. I won't affirm that. But I'll say that we are in a position from a budgetary perspective where we do have hard choices. As a council in the past, we have made the determination that we would like to not increase the tax burden on our citizens. I mean, I have constituents right now who are figuring out, how am I gonna pay my utilities and my medicine bills? And, if you really want to flex, have some eggs too. And so I think that we are just at a point where we're having to make hard choices. And I think that I applaud so much the intent of this committee and how it operates and what we're trying to do. And also, I think it's important to recognize that we have obligations that we cannot put aside, and that if we don't plan today, we may be in a pickle tomorrow. And there's nothing that would stop us, hypothetically, if it rained dollars. And the budget process, there could always be a motion where someone could say, oh my word, we have this unforeseen funds, we could attribute it at that time. So again, all that to say, I definitely support this area because there's so many things that we are absolutely obligated to do. And then again, secondly, I'll wait till it comes to council, but I think that it would be prudent to increase the reserves even more than 10%. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Ms. Newton, for your comments. I definitely think they're all very good ones. Anybody else on this committee is interested in more than 10%, happy to have that conversation or accept a friendly amendment? Yes, you recognize Vice Chair Pugh.
If it wouldn't take up too much of our time, I would love to see what those numbers would look like.
My thought process was 12%. I didn't know what your percentage was.
Vice Chair Pugh, did you have a percentage?
I was thinking along the lines of maybe 15.
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. What'd you say? I said while they're getting the numbers, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am. What?
So I just want to say that I'm in support of us being proactive and doing all the things. I think for me, it's more about we're making this decision, and I know we have to do it now. And so we're making this decision quite quickly, and so I'm trying to wrap my brain around all the things, because as I prepared for this meeting, in one vein, and now I'm having to shift a little bit. So to my colleagues, if you hear any type of hesitancy from me, it's not that I don't want to support what's going on. I'm trying to grapple with it. I'm trying to, make it make sense for me so that I can feel comfortable with standing by it and supporting it in the days to come. So I want to go on the record to say that I'm not pushing back on this at all. I'm just trying to make it make sense and trying to be able to just digest it a little bit more. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to say this, and it's kind of directed towards what Ms. Barron just said. So earlier in your comments, you were saying that, we're not the bank for everybody, right? And I look at this list of people that apply for competitive grants. I know some of them actually depend on us to be able to operate and function at a high level, but at the same time, the statement previously says that we can't be a bank for everybody, right? But what we're trying to do with putting this percentage aside is prepare for the unknown and not understanding what's going to happen. So again, I say this, hypothetically speaking, if everything falls in place the way it needs to fall in place, then we as a committee can come back and reallocate the funds that are needed. We're not going to be able to support everybody on this whole entire list anyway. And so just keeping that in mind, we need to make sure that we support or we recommend those that are really actually doing the work. And then that way, again, if we don't have to use those funds that we're putting aside, then we can come back and make that decision later. That's all I got, Madam Chair.
A.C.A. Thomas, you recognize.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If the total amount of grants was reduced by 15%, the grants would go from $1,764,000 to $1,499,400. Depending on the will of the committee, if the will of the committee were to leave the competitive grants at $705,600, then community partners would be $793,800. $793,800.
Any further questions related to calculations? All right, so my original motion was related to setting aside 10% from the total community impact grant, and we are in discussion. Any further discussion before we call for the vote? Councilwoman Barron?
Thank you. So my question is, when we finish today, what goes before full council? It'll go in as one package, so it'll go as the 10 or the 10 or the 15 or whatever percent we decide will go as a package with the grants that we recommend. One
Yes.
full package.
Yes, ma'am. So, well, let me take that back because we are right at 323 today. And so depending on what we get through and what we award, the committee award recommendations will go to full council for then full council to vote on however they may, and they have the ability at that time to change, as we know. And then this, as a whole, after full council, it goes into the budget process, and then we also vote on it again as part of the full budget.
Okay, so let me ask my question a different way. And so my question is, when we take a vote in just a moment on the 10 or the 15%, then we will then start to allocate based upon that number.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Recognize.
All right, could I ask the maker of the motion to make a friendly amendment to the motion?
What is it first?
That instead of allocating the 10%, we allocate 15%, and the remainder of those funds that are not used stay within the committee to be dispersed amongst our grantees.
Yeah, I'm gonna decline because it's,
All right.
yes. All right, so we're back at the original motion,
Okay.
10% from the total community impact grant funds set aside for child welfare. Any further discussion? Councilwoman Teratio.
Thank you. I know I'm not on the committee, but just to be clear, that 10% is coming out of both the community partners and the competitive grants?
My motion, yes, was a total amount. So the total
Right.
was, yes, 1.764 million was the total, and took 10% off that. Yes.
Okay. And so then that leaves 176,000 that would go to, that would be the 10%.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. All right, we've had Councilman Livingston call for the question. Madam Clerk?
Is it a second?
Second.
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes?
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, so we're now voting on my original motion.
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston, Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes,
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
thank you. Next is item 4B, fiscal year 2026 grant request. If you look at pages 7 through 9, you'll see in your packet, you'll see a list of folks that applied for community impact grants, application title, requested amount, and impact area. Under separate confidential cover, you received a full spreadsheet with the organization, description, impact area, their requested amount, the amount that is actually eligible, and then any other, I guess, reasoning or description for the application. Please remember when going through that the amount eligible category is what can or what is eligible for funding. So that would be the column that I ask colleagues to look at as they make their motions. We cannot fund items that are not eligible per our application process.
Madam Chair?
To be, yes, ma'am.
Sorry, as we get ready to go through these, is there a particular way that the 10% should be allocated among the grants that would be reserved?
Yes, so it was my, right, that's what was my, yeah. So it was my intent, that's what we were gonna do, the initial 10% to each side, yes, ma'am.
From each side?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
So the way that we've done in the past is that we've started with the community partners first. So I would like to start there, and then we can move to the other category next. While we're doing this, ACA Thomas is running the calculator. Who? Okay, Matt. Everybody was running the calculator. Okay. So please be mindful as you make the motion, and we'll keep a track to make sure that we are not going over. All right,
Madam Chair,
you recognize.
I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't make a motion here. I'm just curious, as we look at these things, at these requests, if the committee adopted any guidelines as it relates to, say, percentage of budget of organizations. Because, for example, looking at this, I can see an organization where their grant request is 40% of their budget, which is a substantial amount. I mean, I'm all for helping, but that's a substantial amount for the county to fill for an organization. So again, my question is, does the committee have standards as it relates to that are going to be part of these recommendations?
Thank you so much for that question. If I may pose to staff, can you clarify when, and I don't know if this is in the application or in the review process, how we rate folks based upon the percentage of budget in their request? So Ms. Newton's question was, folks are asking for an amount that is 40% of their total budget. Are we allowing that? Do we have guidelines or best practices? How are we deciding that?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chairman.
You're recognized, Director Wilkerson.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. So our guidelines, and this is for all HTAX, ATAX, and SIG grants, is that we cannot fund more than 50% of the budget. So that is kind of our standard that we try to fall under for all of our internal grants process. So the SIG grants would fall under the same process.
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I thought I heard you say that for HTAX, for example, we can't fund more than 50% of an event. Did you just use the word event just now, or did you just apply it to budget overall?
Well, it depends on their application. So if their application is for overall budget, or if their application is for one event. So, SIG is a little bit different where it is more for the overall, budget.
Okay.
But the same rules still apply, that, we cannot fund more than 50%.
Gotcha. So then I'll just note, and I can note it again, I guess, for next year's process as we look at it. I think it would be great if we affirmatively said as a body that we want to abide by the event standard or something else. Because again, I just think there are certain thresholds at which, for me, while it is less than 50, even funding 40% of an organization's budget, I think is significant. And I would like to see the county in a supportive role as opposed to like we're most like that large of your budget kind of role for what we're doing. So, okay, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, I'll now open, Ms. Livingston, you
open
ready?
for motions?
I am, yes, sir. But we would like to focus on community partners first.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. You recognize Mr. Livingston?
I'd like to move
Okay.
that we fund senior resources at the amount eligible on the list of 470,500.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve senior resources for the amount eligible of $470,546. Any discussion? Oh, okay. You want the math?
What that leaves for the other 8 partners?
Got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
That leaves $482,014. $482,014.
Okay. So the remaining 8 partners would get about the same amount as senior resources.
No, that's in total. So the total for community partners is $952,560. If senior resources is funded at $470,000, $546, that would leave $482,014 for
Right.
the remaining 7
The remaining, okay, so the remaining 7 would share.
would share the $482,000, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Seeing no other discussion, Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
No.
English.
Yes,
Motion approved.
Madam Chair.
Recognize, Council.
You have to forgive me because I don't have my readers on, but I would like to fund Columbia Urban League. And I think this amount says 100,000, but at $90,000.
Second.
A motion and a second to fund Columbia Urban League at $90,000. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston, Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes,
Motion approved.
Madam Chair?
Recognize Councilwoman Barron.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve Greater Columbia Community Relations Council at $50,000.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
yes.
Motion approved.
Madam Chair?
I could get a balance, can I get a balance before we keep moving?
Yes, at this time, the balance for community partners is $342,014.
Madam Chair?
Good, Ms. Livingston? All right. Councilwoman Barron?
Thank you. I'd like to recommend for funding Greater Columbia Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $53,500.
Motion dies for lack of a
Second, I'll
second?
second it.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes,
Motion approved.
All right, matters regarding Midlands, this reference transition, for 50,000.
Second.
A motion and a second for Midlands Housing Alliance for $150,000. Any questions? Sorry, any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
yes.
Motion approved.
I'd like to make a motion to fund Mental Illness Recovery Center at $150,000. Motion and second, any discussion?
Madam Clerk,
Yes.
there's not enough money to fund that.
Give us the balance, please. Apologies.
The balance at this time is $138,514.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion, sorry, I'm gonna withdraw my motion and make a new motion to fund Midlands Mental Illness Recovery Center at $125,000.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes,
Motion approved.
Yes, you may.
$13,514.
Thank you. All right, hearing no further motion at this time, I would like to move forward to our next section, which is our open awards, our competitive grants, rather, excuse me.
Madam Chair?
Hold on, let me finish. So same thing applies, for this. You can see the amount eligible on your larger, sheet. Please make sure to be mindful of that motion, when making, excuse me, be mindful of that when making motions. And then, Director Wilkerson will keep track. I think this one will be a little longer just because the amounts are smaller. Yes, sir, you recognize.
Compared to last year for the total amount of dollars that's being requested, was it less this year, if I remember correctly?
Yes, sir, it was less. It is less this year than last year, the requested amount. I don't know offhand how much, but I can find out.
I just remembered. That,
Vice Chair Pugh.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to award South Carolina Uplift Community Outreach at $50,000. I make a motion. I'm sorry.
Second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
yes.
Barron,
Yes,
Mackey.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Madam Chair,
Recognize.
I'd like to make a motion to fund the Wiley Kennedy Foundation at $50,000.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston, Barron,
Yes,
Mackey.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Madam Chair,
Recognize.
I'd like to make a motion to fund Latino Community CDC at $50,000.
Second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk? Yes, ma'am. All right. A motion, a second, any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
yes,
Mackey.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Recognize.
I'd like to make a motion to fund the Ram Foundation at $20,000.
Second.
Where's that one?
A
Ram,
motion and a second, a discussion of where is Ram Foundation on our chart.
page 3.
That's the one related to Columbia College or whatever? Columbia International, yeah. And what was their request? I apologize. Couldn't-
20,000.
Just 1 minute. Did you find it, Mr. Livingston?
Well, I got my question answered.
You good? Okay, he's on his, oh, okay, thank you. All right, and then I saw, Councilwoman Teratio, is that right?
Yes, so you're talking about the RAM Foundation, which is the top line on the third page of our packet?
Yes,
Okay, and that's associated with,
Columbia International University.
okay, great, I didn't, thank you.
May I ask, is this a religious camp?
I'm sorry, hold on. What page are you on?
Very top of number 3.
They look on the big paper. That's why I'm not looking. This is not tied to Columbia International University. It's not.
I'm still fine with it.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure.
do-
But it is
well-
not tied to Columbia International University.
Well, I'm not fine with it if that's the case, though. Do we need to re-vote on it or whatever? Do we take a vote?
We haven't voted on
Okay,
it.
okay.
We're discussing.
Okay.
Madam Chair, as a part of discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
For our colleagues that, so I apologize. I do believe Columbia International University
They
is
have
a
a-
part, they have Ram Foundation, but I do believe they're also a partner in this as well, if I'm not mistaken. They're also is this not the organization that came and brought the children for a tour and the administration?
Right, but
Yeah.
they're not tied to Columbia International University.
Not tied,
Okay.
but partner. And if I'm wrong, okay, I'll take it, but Yeah, we'll just leave it.
I think they work with Columbia.
However you want to say it.
Well, as in discussion, the reason I think it is important is because I think we have some folks that have issues with it being tied to a religious organization. And so I want to be very clear that they're not. So they may work with or visit, but they are not tied.
Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's all.
I'm not saying tied to. Yeah, so
They are
if
not
that
tied
is
to.
important, then I want to put less, they ain't having church.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
You're
just
recognized.
to reiterate that we couldn't fund an organization for religious purposes anyway. So nobody on the list would meet that.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair.
You're recognized, Councilwoman Teratio.
Yes, I hear exactly what our county attorney is saying, and there are organizations that veer closer to the line than others might. Thank you.
Just so I feel good about this, because the RAM Foundation is a good community partner, as is the rest of these. Staff, please email everybody so they can read on the RAM Foundation themselves. Well, I think everybody received their packet, but please read the RAM Foundation so everybody is clear of what they do and who they are and are not tied to, so we do not spread false rumors about this nonprofit. All right. You take the vote?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston, Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Hold on just 1 minute. We need to do a count check, a number check.
At this time, we have $465,040 still available for competitive grants.
Madam Chair,
Recognize.
I have a question about that number.
Yes, ma'am.
If I was listening correctly, there were funds that were in the community partner bucket that were not allocated. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so per the rules of this committee, do those funds then roll into the total for the competitive grants?
I did not do that, but
No, I'm asking if that's what happens. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Talk to me, Vice Chair Pugh. And then Mr. Livingston.
Ma'am, I'd like to make a motion that we fund Range of Hope Foundation at $10,000.
Second.
Motion is second for Ranger Hope at $10,000. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Livingston, Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Livingston?
First I have a question. Did we do communities and schools?
No. Did not.
I'd like to do 25,000. The request fifth, I'll do $25,000. A motion, 25,000.
Second.
The motion is second for communities and schools at $25,000. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
You have one more?
I'm sorry.
You want to let the ladies go first? Go ahead, Ms.
You'd
Livingston.
already go up, but.
Go ahead, Mr. Livingston. Go ahead. No. Go ahead, Mr.
Now,
Livingston.
Age before beauty. Go ahead, Mr.
this
Livingston.
is sister care, the elder amount was 17,000. I want to make a motion for 15,000 for, Sister Care Incorporated.
Second.
The motion is second for Sister Care at $15,000. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Madam Chair, I now lead you to the chair.
Okay, thank
to
you,
the
thank
lady.
you. Ms. English, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Livingston, I move to have the therapy place funded at $50,000.
Second. Motion is second for therapy place at $50,000. Any discussion?
I'd like to make substitute motion. How much we got left? I'd like to make substitute motion.
40,000? I accept that.
All right. Discussion. Substitute motion was accepted for $40,000 for therapy place. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Madam Chair,
Recognized.
I'd like to make a motion that we fund the Big Red Barn at 25,000.
Second. Motion is second to fund Big Red Barn at $25,000. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston, Barron,
I'm recusing myself. I sit on this board.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
You move on.
I'd like,
Can you please tell me where that is?
it's,
have my glasses.
page, if you're looking in your council packet, it's on, oh wait, you on the big thing? Derek, tell her where it is on the big one.
It's the fourth page.
Third from the bottom.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion, for Wings for Kids, funding the amount of $40,000.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, can you repeat who seconded that motion?
Mr. Pugh?
I did.
All right, thank you. Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
No.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Madam Chair,
Recognized.
I'd like to make a motion to fund the Mary L. Jacobs Life Center at $25,000.
Second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Count, please. Balance.
Yes, ma'am. The balance is $285,040.
Madam Chair,
Recognized.
I'd like to make a motion to fund the Christian Assistance Bridge or the CAB program at $10,000.
Second. Any discussion? Christian Assistant Bridge Program at $10,000. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
No.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Recognized.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve, I'd like to make a motion to, for $20,000 for Palmetto Place Children's and Youth Services.
Second.
Motion is second for $25,000 for, excuse me, thank you. A motion is second for $20,000 for Palmetto Place Children and Youth Services. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Mr. Livingston, you recognized.
Yes, I'd like to approve 25,000, that's on the third sheet for, Homeless No More.
Second.
We have a motion and okay. Yeah, so Homeless No More, we had a motion and a second, we're in discussion, but Homeless No More, they are not eligible for funding. So,
Withdraw my motion, Madam Chair.
thank you. Thank you.
Chair,
Recognize.
I'd like to make a motion that we fund Able, South Carolina at 20,000.
Motion and second for Able, South Carolina at 20,000. Any discussion? I know I haven't found it yet. Oh, okay, I see it. Yes. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes,
Motion approved.
Madam Chair.
You're recognized.
I'd like to make a motion to fund the United Way of the Midlands. I'm gonna say at $40,000.
Second. Any discussion? United Way of the Midlands at $40,000? Yes, Councilwoman Newton?
Thank you. Just two things. So I'm looking at this on page 1 of the big spreadsheet. And if possible, it would be lovely if everybody said what page things were on as we move forward, since we're dealing with 2 sheets. And just curious, for the maker of the motion, if there is a particular reason you decreased your request from the $50,000 requested to $40,000?
Trying to go in line with the 10%.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, I'm open to,
I'm just, yeah, I'm just tracking and following, and I was just curious. You be at 45. Yeah.
Any further discussion? Madam Clerk?
No.
Livingston, Barron,
No.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
yes.
Motion approved.
Balance check.
Yes, ma'am. We are now at $195,040.
Madam Chair,
Recognize.
I'd like to make a motion to fund the Central Midlands Development Corporation at $20,000.
Second.
Motion and second to fund Central Midlands Development Corporation at $20,000. Discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
No.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Madam Chair,
Recognize.
I'd like to make a motion to fund Girls on the Run Columbia at $20,000.
Have a motion.
Second.
Motion and second for Girls on the Run Columbia at $20,000. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston, Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Madam Chair.
Recognize.
Page 1, Phoenix Mobility
nice of you.
Rising. Phoenix Mobility Rising, I'd like to make a motion to fund them at 40,000.
Second.
Motion and second for Phoenix Mobility Rising at 40,000. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston, Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Recognize.
What the balance is, Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we, reserve the balance.
Can we get a balance check, please?
Yes, ma'am. At this time, we have remaining $115,040.
We have a motion on the floor to reserve the remaining $115,040. What you reserve? for later adjustments.
Second that. Second for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for discussion. Is there a discussion? Yes, ma'am, you recognize.
Yeah, what's the rationale? I mean, there's still organizations to be funded.
well,
And I know, I know we're getting close on our time. I'd rather us keep this document in committee and continue this discussion at another meeting than to, you know, just say we're gonna hold a pot of money. We just held a pot of money earlier. You know, so I'm trying to understand what our rationale is there.
My rationale was that because we're going through the document rather quickly, just in case someone decided there was an adjustment they wanted to make, they would have an opportunity to do it, but it doesn't matter. Example, some of us, when we were first, was worried about the amount of money, so you may reduce some of them to make sure money was available for others. Now you may be able to go back and say, well, you know, we can give that person a full amount or more than we gave them. Because on a few of them, I was trying to, you know, be reasonable and say, you know, if they ask for 50, let's give them 40 so that way others can have the money. But this would be an opportunity to go back and adjust those if you wanted to later.
So, Madam Chair, if I may ask the maker of a motion, you know, to do for a substitute motion, is that?
You would just need to make your substitute motion and see if
Okay,
he
well,
accepts.
So I'd like to make a substitute motion to keep this document in committee so that we can continue to flesh it out and make the allocations at our next committee meeting before sending it to full council.
I'm okay with that so long as we stick with what we've agreed to so far. And we're just going to, still, the only thing that's going to be available is the 115. I don't want to restart everything.
That's the plan, is that we would just put a pause on what we've done and then continue where we are at the 115.
Next question would be timing. How does that affect?
So we just have to have the information by second reading of the budget, so that would be June 6th, I believe, June 6th or June
You have
8th.
time, okay.
Well, and let me be clear. I understand that is what would be nice. However, this committee has typically operated to have this done before then so that folks are aware and the community is, that everybody's aware ahead of time. And so we could wait the second reading, but that has not been the practice of the committee, nor would I like that to start now. So I think if we are postponing this for another meeting, that's fine, but the meeting needs to happen sooner rather than later so that this can be available for first budget reading.
I totally agree with that.
Okay. So you accepted her substitute motion or her friendly amendment? Which one was it? Okay. We're gonna say it was a friendly amendment. He accepted it. Ms. English, you were the second person?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. So we're gonna pause on that. If we could, can we, just for a point of clarification, can you go back to the community partners list and confirm, did we take action on all community partners listed?
No.
Can you please confirm which ones we did not?
No action was taken on Pathways to Healing. Their request, or the amount eligible was 85,000, and no action was taken on Oliver Gospel Mission, and their amount eligible was 50,000.
Okay. I wanted to make sure the committee was aware of that in case, we needed to, take any action or folks were inclined to take any action, today before, this meeting concludes so that that was not overlooked. I will stay, just for public record, Oliver Gospel Mission, I am not recommending approval of funding at this time due to this organization currently being non-compliant in our current grant cycle right now. And so I don't think it would be responsible of us to award again in our fiscal year 26 cycle when this nonprofit is non-compliant at this time. So that is my statement related to Oliver Gospel Mission. Yes, you're recognized, Councilwoman Terratio.
Thank you, and I know we need to move on to the next meeting. But if an organization, if we got to the point where there was, I think as Mr. Livingston said, capacity to make an adjustment and perhaps make an allocation, for instance, to Pathways to Healing, that could be done either by this committee or at full council during the budget. Is that correct? Could there be a substitute or a change?
Yes,
'Cause
ma'am.
I-
So this committee
yes.
can make a change, you're right, but anything, the recommendations go before a full council, you're right, and at that time, if anyone wishes to make a motion then to make a change, you're right, they can do that then as well.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
You're welcome.
And Madam Chair, and before, an update on Robert Board.
Yes. If staff would please provide an updated list before our next meeting. Okay, so you scroll down this, where's my agenda? Thank you. So 4C is next steps. At this point, next steps is we'll have another committee meeting to continue motions related to funding request. Item 5 is adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Motion is second for adjournment. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
It was something rogue, if anything, but I think somebody took it from the site, must have put it in the mailbox. Oh. Yeah. As soon as we.
Still got it from the drop.
Yeah, as soon as we heard about it, that was shut down that week, that day.
Have a quorum for mine?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
I have a quorum for, we have Mr. Weaver, we have Mr. Pugh. Because of time, you have 2 minutes. I'm gonna call the Transportation Ad hoc Committee to order. Don't give them 2 minutes to get ready.
Okay.